House will come to order. Welcome, members, to the 17th day of session. March the 2nd, 2026, 68th Wyoming Legislature Budget Session. Chief Clerk, if you will please take the roll.
Convening roll call for the 17th day, March 2nd, 2026. Alamand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Plouston. Connolly. Davis. Erickson. Filer. Hornstrom. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Excused. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Mr. Speaker. Campbell Kevin. Angelos. Bear. McCann. Ottman. Schmid. Singh. Yin.
Well, we know where they're at, I believe. Most of them, they are testifying over on the Senate side, so they are on the Judiciary Committee, so we have some of those open. So we will go ahead and close the roll for now, and those members will be here brief shortly, I trust. And so
56 present, 6 excused.
thank you, Chief Clerk. All right, next, our prayer of today is being led by Pastor Dale Smith, retired Assemblies of God out of Greeley, Colorado. Please, Pastor Smith, lead us to the Lord in prayer.
Leading into this, I want to just share a little story. It's about a little girl who was kneeling by her bed. And she says, "Now, Harold, I pray you bless my mommy and bless my daddy. And Harold, please bless Grandpa and Grandma. And Harold, please bless my little brother." And her father was standing at the door listening. And so he slipped in and knelt down next to her and said, "Honey, who are you talking to? Who's this Harold?" And she said, "You know, Daddy, Jesus said, 'Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.'" My wife and I, she's up in the gallery, Jana, we had our 54th anniversary last Friday. And thank you, about half of those years have been in Wyoming, planting churches and doing church construction and other various things around the state. And so it's very much our home. But now we live in Greeley, so we're greenies. But you can be thankful that things are greening up today for you. Around the state, our license plates are green, but our hearts are still Wyoming brown and gold. If you'd bow your hearts and heads with me today, I'd like to start out this prayer with Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And Lord, Heavenly Father, our great and wonderful and loving God, As this legislative session gets underway, we take this moment to acknowledge you and invoke your divine counsel and directive. Reveal your will to us regarding the important decisions of the day. We seek to advance and enhance this great state and its people we are privileged to serve. We respectfully lift up before you the personal needs of each member here today and their families. We appreciate each clerk and other staff and a host of statewide employees and their families. Please bless and prosper them all. May your goodness and grace be over this state and its capital and all who work here. And please, Lord, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. God bless your day.
Thank you, Pastor Smith. Fellow members and guests, please join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On some things that they've given me, that if you have traveled home, ladies and gentlemen, at any time during this session, you must complete the travel notebook in the main office. If you have any questions, please contact Heather in the LSO office. So if you do travel home, you've got to go and make sure that you get that signed and taken care of and let the LSO staff know that you've done that. Representative Chestic, you got something?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor, please.
Proceed.
Thank you. Members, I don't do this very often, but I'd like you to help me welcome a guest, a beautiful lady, my wife, in the West Gallery. Please stand. We met a long time ago when I was not in a really good place. And she picked me up and gave me a smile and showed me what true love could really be like. Those of you who know me somewhat know that I'm kind of an introvert. She is so not. But that she has given me the confidence and the courage to come out of my shell. And being an introvert is not really part of a skill set for a politician. So to a large extent, the reason I'm standing here right now is because she has helped me become a better human, and I love her so much. Thank you.
Representative Filer, I know you thought we were trying to ignore you. You go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I have a quick privilege?
You certainly may.
All right.
Proceed.
This is a good one, guys. It's a good one. All right. Did y'all hear about the bus of Elvis impersonators that crashed on the way to Las Vegas? Well, the good thing is nobody was injured, but they were all shook up.
Thank you, Representative Filer. Representative Strzok, please.
Privilege of the floor.
Absolutely, please.
Thank you. I was just going to share, I have some really fun news to tell you. I got grandbabies last night. So that made, or yesterday morning, I'm so sorry, yesterday morning. But the scary thing was they're premature. They were at 28 weeks. So it was a life flight to Denver. And, but they are okay this morning. And so I spent yesterday in Denver, and we've got two little girls, Olivia and Sophia. And one came naturally, the other one was C-section. So it's a little rough on mom. And of course, they're going to be there probably 8 to 10 weeks or longer. It depends on how much. They came at 2 pounds and 5 ounces. So, it's amazing. I just have one thing I want to share. And what is amazing to me, because these babies were wanted, they worked really hard to keep them alive. And what's sad is all babies are very much wanted and loved by somebody. I have a grandson that was adopted because mama wasn't in the position to keep this little one. And my daughter worked at the hospital and she said, you know, there's other options. So she comes out and she said, will you adopt my baby? So Sybil says, of course. So every baby is wanted. My daughter struggles getting babies. She would take any baby, anyone handed her a baby. I just want everyone to keep that in mind. Every baby is loved and wanted. And if you saw these little people that we are fighting, they're fighting for life. The hospital's fighting to keep them alive. I sent out prayer. You know, a lot of you were praying, which thank you so much. And that is just something that is, when you could see these little ones, the thought of us not fighting for them and not understanding what abortion does to these babies and the mothers in the long run. So I just want to thank you all for prayers, and obviously we'll probably need still more prayers. One of them is still intubated. The other one's doing better. Sophie's doing better. Pretty bruised up little things, but thank you for prayers, and thank you for letting me share. So thank you.
Thank you, Grandma. Representative Fornstrom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the West Gallery this morning, we have members of the Pine Bluffs High School Student Council, which also includes our Paige, but she's down here. Anyway, they're a sponsor, I guess, but also Principal Mr. Todd Sweeter. I'd just like to welcome them to the house and go Hornets. You guys can stand.
Thank you, Representative Fornstrom. Welcome to the House. Glad to have you with us this morning. All right, next, Journal Committee report. Reading clerk.
Your Journal Committee reports of the Journal of February 27th, 2026 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Representatives Jarvis and Posey.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. The doctor of the day is Danae, I believe it is Danae Stamfley, MD, and our page, as you may recognize, for this week is welcoming back Kiefer Fornstrom. So Representative Fornstrom's daughter is back with us this week. Thankful to have her. Glad to have you back, Ms. Fornstrom. Look forward to working with you one more week as we get ready to close out the session. Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege.
Absolutely. Proceed.
Thank you. This is hard to do. I have a yellow ribbon. Our brothers in arms are in harm's way, and their families at home are afraid and alone. I just ask that we stand and take a moment of silence for those who have been killed, and for those who are in harm's way, a prayer for their health and benefit. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pendergraft. It is critical that we would remember those that are in the battle and the front lines, and for those that are serving here at home and their families in this time. Please continue to keep our troops and their families in your prayers. That would be a quick and expedient end to this engagement in this conflict for all benefit. All right. Next, Okay, you may wonder what this is about, this gavel up here. For those of you that maybe noticed this on my desk up here, as we prepare to celebrate the United States 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 2026, we mark this occasion with a meaningful symbol of our work here in the Capitol. This gavel, you see here on my desk, will be used in both chambers the remainder of the 2026 budget session and will be placed in a time capsule in the north side of the Capitol during the 250th celebration, preserving a piece of Wyoming's legislative history for future generations. It was crafted, for your information, from Wyoming state tree, the cottonwood, using wood from limbs trimmed from a tree on the Capitol grounds. Former Senator Fred Emmerich, a talented woodworker and veterinarian, collected several of the fallen limbs, took them to his workshop, and transformed the wood into this gavel. From the Capitol grounds to the hands of a former senator to these chambers to preserve a moment in time, this gavel reflects Wyoming's enduring commitment to citizen-led government. Throughout 2026, communities across Wyoming will celebrate America's 250th anniversary and our proud legacy as the birthplace of women's suffrage. We invite you to join us at the Capitol and in celebration across Wyoming on July the 4th as we honor 250 years of independence and look ahead to a future we are building brighter together. So I will be utilizing this gavel, the honor to be able to use that for the next couple days, and then it will be sent to the Senate President, who will utilize this gavel, and then we will enshrine it for posterity. So that is the deal there. All right, the next is the presiding officer. We got an announcement from us. It's an NCSL training for Tuesday, tomorrow morning, beginning at 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, excuse me. Members of the House, Stacy Householder and Natalie Wood, younger Natalie Wood, from the National Conference of State Legislatures will be here tomorrow, March the 3rd, to provide a committee training for all House members. The training will be held in public meeting room number 5 in the Capitol Extension from 7:30 to 9 a.m. And I would encourage all representatives to attend this training as we begin to prepare for the upcoming interim. The reason I asked NCSL to come and provide this training for my House members, and it is also available for Senate, is because they've provided this training for literally decades. And what this is for Senate and representative chairman and committee members to help us to be the most effective members of committees and chair leaders of committees that we can possibly be. This will be a very in-depth training where it will help you to be able to better understand your role as a committeeman or woman and the ability of you to direct your meetings and make them more efficient, effective, and useful, not only to you, but to those folks that come and give testimony before your meeting. It'll help you be able to learn how to manage your meetings appropriately, decorum, all these different things. They do these trainings all over the United States. And my thought was if we could have you folks have this opportunity to be able to take this training before we head into the interim, for those of you that are going to be coming back and may be chairman, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to get some excellent training and help you to be a more effective chairman, which expedites the entire process and makes us more effective for the state of Wyoming. So I would encourage all of us to make time tomorrow morning. It's an hour and a half out of your day to come and learn all that you can about being a good chairman, improving your chairman skills, and also very, very important to be a good committee member, because committee members can make or break a chairman, and we all know that. And so we can really help each other to be far more effective with these kind of training and information. So I would encourage all of you to be there for that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, next thing, messages from the Senate. We don't have any. Reports from standing committees, none. Man, you guys are about to wear this thing out. You're going to run out of stuff to do. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we are on our way to bills on second reading. And we've got some, yeah, we can do it in old acts. Let's do that. It'll give us a chance to utilize this new gavel. It's amazing. Now listen to the tone difference of this, ladies and gentlemen. This is the normal. This is soft wood on this. How light that? Which do you prefer? I don't want to beat this up. I got to be very gentle with this because it will mar this up. And as the chief clerk sits there and does this, you gnar that up. I'm going to be honest. Would you prefer? Huh? You want the first one? Okay, we'll do this one then. All right. All right, and next for our consideration are enrolled acts. First enrolled act for our consideration is enrolled joint resolution number 1. Reading clerk.
House Enrolled Joint Resolution Number 1, being original House Joint Resolution 2. A joint resolution requesting Congress to introduce a bill and enact law to increase the state of Wyoming's share of federal mineral royalties from 50% to 87.5%. Now therefore be it resolved by the members of the Legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I am about to sign Enrolled Act Joint Resolution number 1, having been original House Joint Resolution number 2. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act number 10.
House Enrolled Act number 10 being original House Bill 105, an act relating to school buildings and facilities, providing appropriations for the fiscal biennium commencing July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2028, providing for appropriations for the remainder of the current biennium ending June 30th, 2026, providing an appropriation that shall not revert, specifying conditions for expenditures, requiring reports, establishing a grant program for school facility safety and security projects, specifying requirements for school districts to receive safety and security grant funds, specifying applicability, and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 10, having been original House Bill number 105. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act number 11.
House Enrolled Act number 11 being original House Bill 107, an act relating to local government funding, continuously distributing a portion of the state sales and use taxes collected and accrued each fiscal year for cities, towns, and counties, creating a statutory funding formula, providing legislative intent, and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 11, having been original House Bill number 107. I have so signed. Next Enrolled Act for our consideration, number 12.
House Enrolled Act number 12 being original House Bill 9, an act relating to crimes and offenses, establishing the criminal offense of grooming of a minor for a sexual offense, specifying penalties, providing definitions, making conforming amendments, and providing for an effective date, being enacted by the Legislature of the state of Wyoming.
I'm about to sign Enrolled Act number 12, having been original House Bill number 9. I have so signed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on through the process, we will go to second bills on second reading. To that portion. First Senate file for consideration, Senate file number 14.
Senate File 14, sponsored by Education, Literacy Position for K through 3 Reading Program, an act relating to authorization of full-time literacy position for the Department of Education.
Senate file 14 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate file 25.
Senate File 25, sponsored by Travel, Landowner License Limits and Limited Quota Hunt Areas, an act relating to game and fish.
Senate file 25 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate file 26.
Senate File 26, sponsored by Travel, Game and Fish Property Tax Exemption Amendments, an act relating to taxation and revenue.
Senate file 26 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate file 44.
Senate File 44, sponsored by Management Council, Gambling Amendments, an act relating to crimes and offenses.
Senate file 44 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate file 56. Or no, 46, excuse me, I jumped a line. 46.
Senate File 46, sponsored by Management Council, Skill-Based Amusement Games, Licensed Liquor Establishments, and act relating to gaming.
Senate file 46 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, now 56.
Senate File 56, sponsored by Senator Landon, Kratom Product Regulation, an act relating to food and drugs.
Senate file 56 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate file 70.
Senate File 70, sponsored by Water, Omnibus Water Bill Construction, an act relating to water development projects.
We have amendments. Representative Strzok, please.
Thank you, Speaker. So I move Committee of the Whole Amendment, second
Reading.
reading, number, so sorry. Should do this more. 2. Is that 1, 2?
Second reading amendment number 1 to
One,
Senate File
to
7.
Senate File 70. So this is just beginning January 1st, 2027. Funds from the appropriation made in this paragraph shall not be expended or used to exercise eminent domain for the purposes of this project. And it is on page 55, line 12.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Larson, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand on and in support of this amendment. Members, this project has been outstanding in the Select Water Committee for years, even prior to when I was here in the legislature. I've served on that committee for 4 years, and there still really hasn't been a lot of movement, and there's a lot of complications with the landowners and a lot of animosity there. So I think this really clarifies some heartache that they've had to deal with there, and I fully support it. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for the first time on the amendment? Representative Larson, Lloyd, your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So if I could just get some understanding of the intent, and I think I get it, that you can't use it for any condemnation. So then would the alternative be that we pay above the appraised price for land? If the landowners are willing to sell, but it's above the appraised price, is that acceptable? Or is the other option that we just say we're not going to do the project if we can't get the land bought? And if that's the case, is there a timeline that you have in mind to put the death knell in the project? If you could just answer those, it'd help me as we consider the vote.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for their first time? Representative Brown, Landon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And just in similar vein, the larger discussion at hand is if we're going to restrict this water construction funding from eminent domain, is it a threat to the project getting off the ground and actually moving? And if we put this in there, hearing from the other representative over where the Green River flows through freely, I want to make sure we get the program going. And would it maybe not be a better opportunity if, depending upon what happens here, increase something for eminent domain funding if that's what's needed to bring a larger amount of money to this in third reading? Just want to make sure that if this project's been sitting out there for a while, that we actually get this program up and running, and that if we put this amendment in the language in the bill, is it going to hamstring the actual project from moving forward?
Thank you, Representative Brown. Any other members for their first time on the amendment? Second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 70. Seeing none, second time, Representative Larson, JT, your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the intent behind this amendment is to make sure that if there's going to be any acquisition of land or easements put in place, that it's in good faith, working in good faith with the landowner and not taking from the landowner. As of right now, the date set in statute is July of next year to have all this put in place. There's another amendment coming up to bring that back because we've been working on this project for many, many, many years, and we have not seen a lot of progress. So yeah, we're just trying to either say we need to work in good faith with the landowners and get it done, or we need to move on and do something else. So that's on in favor of the amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for the second time? Seeing none, back to the bringer. Representative Strzok, please.
Thank you, Speaker. I just appreciate what the last speaker said. So if we could go ahead and, I guess, vote your conscience on this and what you think's best. And thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're voting on second reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 70. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has been adopted. Next amendment for consideration, second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 70. Representative Larson, JT, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 70 and ask for your favorable consideration. Members, basically what this amendment does is takes the the project date back to July of this year to have everything. We kind of put a restriction in statute that says they have to have everything ready to go and set in place for land acquisition or easements by July of 2027. This project has been going on for many years and they have not seen a lot of progress. And so I think they really need to figure it out now or be done, because we've given them extensions over the years and we haven't really seen too much progress. So again, I just ask for an aye vote on this amendment. It really gets this project wrapped up one way or another. So that way we can free up the money if they don't use it and we can use it on other projects, because there's millions of dollars tied up for this project right now that could be used in other areas of the state where there's already a dam that needs fixed and all the easements are in place. So we really got to get this project tied up. We've been working on it, but it's not really gone anywhere. And so I encourage you to vote aye on this so that way we can move on and move forward with other things. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Members for the first time on the amendment? Seeing none. Representative Larson, would you like another bite at the apple? Okay. He's waving us off. Members, you're voting on second reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 70. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The enthusiasm level in here is numbing. Okay, so I'm going to call for a standing vote, if you would mind, because I cannot tell. That was about as even as you can get. All those in favor, please stand. All right, you may be seated. It's going to be very close, ladies and gentlemen, so please stand still when you stand. All those opposed, please stand. All right, you may be seated. The amendment has been adopted, 31-24. It's not as close as I thought. We've got some folks missing here and stuff like that. So, all right, that has been adopted. Next amendment for consideration, second reading amendment number 3, has Senate File 70. Representative Lawley, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move second reading amendment number 3 to Senate File 70 and ask for your favorable consideration. So on your goldenrod, we're going to try to make a little change based on what I'd call kind of a technical correction. It's going to involve some more money, but it has to do with transfers from Water 1 to Water 2 in the bill. So it's on page 59 of the bill. If you look at paragraph section 3, lines 15 through 17 is where you see this transfer occur. Currently, the amount in the bill is $16 million from Water 1 to water two. And, but on the goldenrod, it appears that we will have a shortage of about $225,000 in water two. So what we're doing is we are amending it to change the number from 16 million to $16,225,000. Part of this is due to the way LSO kind of does their accounting for the goldenrod and the way that water development does their accounting on water one and water two. But just so there's not a deficit on there, we're going to ask you to amend that for that amount. So again, that's the amendment, and I would ask for favorable consideration and stand for questions.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time? Representative Larson Lloyd for your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the presenter, that just doesn't make sense to me if the only reason we're doing it is to correct the goldenrod. What is it there in water one that we're giving up that we need to put that money into water two is the bigger question for me, at least. And what's the driver behind this? I'm having a hard time getting excited about, because the goldenrod is just that. It's just the goldenrod, and it has no value whatsoever. It's what's in the account in that agency's budget and how they divert it up. So I need a little clear conversation on this, please.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for your first time? Seeing none, back to the bringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. Basically, it is this issue of when is money available in the goldenrod? What do they look at versus what the department has available under their accounting? So I wouldn't disagree with you, but there is a kind of a difference of opinion about whether or not we want to make sure the goldenrod doesn't have that deficit in it. And I was just contacted about it this morning. So that's where we are. And this was the solution that was kind of agreed to satisfy everybody. So I, again, ask for your favorable consideration.
All right, members, you're voting on second reading amendment number 3 to Senate File 70. This will be a roll call. So Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Ellamand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Fornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Reagans, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, repeat, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 7 aye, 51 no, 4 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt second reading amendment number 3 to Senate File number 70. Senate File number 70 having been read 2 separate times, the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Oh, hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Okay, next Senate File for our consideration, Senate File 90.
Senate File 90, sponsored by Senator Brennan. school facilities, use fees, and act relating to education.
Senate File 90 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 105.
Senate File 105, sponsored by Senator Jones. Real estate brokers, duties and disclosure amendments, and act relating to real estate brokers and salespersons.
Senate File 105 having been read 2 separate times. Question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 107.
Senate File 107, sponsored by Senator Nethercott. Motor vehicle registration and plate issuance system, and act relating to motor vehicles.
Senate File 107 having been read 2 separate times. The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Hearing no objection, it is so ordered. Okay, third reading consent list. Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We only have 3 on the consent list today, so I move the third reading consent list consisting of the following Senate files: Senate File 4, Senate File 12, and Senate File 13.
Okay, members, you may remove any one of these. Any one of you may. We have Senate File 4, 12, and 13. Does anyone want to remove any of those Senate files from the consent list? Seeing none, okay. Senate files, we will be voting on a consent, Senate Files 4, 12, and 13. Chief Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, let's see, we got to read them first, yeah. Senate File 4.
Senate File 4, sponsored by Labor. Medicaid rate increase EMS services, and act relating to medical assistance and services being enacted by the Legislature of the State of Wyoming. Senate File 12, sponsored by Transportation. Wyoming National Guard Reenlistment Bonus Program, and act relating to Defense Forces and Affairs being enacted by the Legislature of the State of Wyoming. Senate File 13, sponsored by Transportation. Wyoming National Guard member referral amendments, and act relating to Defense Forces and Affairs being enacted by the Legislature of the State of Wyoming.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Now we're ready for a vote with our good Chief Clerk. Please proceed.
Allemande, Allemande, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, excused, Nicholas, Ottman, excused, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, excused, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 57 aye, 5 excused. As for Senate File 4, are there any changes? Smith, aye to no. Brown Gary, aye to no. Stivar, aye to no. Lean, aye to no. Wasserberger, aye to no. Bear, aye to no. Johnson, aye to no. Pendergraft, aye to no. Knapp, aye to no. Strock, aye to no. Allemande, aye to no. Locke, aye to no. Haroldson, aye to no. Winter, aye to no. Guggenmoss, aye to no. Heft, aye to no. Weber, I to no. Worf, I to no. Webb, I to no. Brady, I to no. Heiner, I to no. Mr. Speaker, I to no. Tarver, I to no. Further changes? Further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 34 aye, 23 no, 5 excused. As for Senate File 12, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 57 aye, 5 excused. As for Senate File 13, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 57 aye, 5 excused.
All right, having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, Senate Files 4, 12, and 13 have passed the House. All right. Representative Bear, we are almost at that hour. Do you want to think we want to try to get one more of these bills through, or do you want to go ahead and attack the budget and we'll do one more? Okay, we can go if you got time. We're trying, the reason I'm asking, ladies and gentlemen, so we all know, we're trying to coordinate the exact time that the Senate is going to be reading the budget in on their side of the chamber with ours. And so just to try to align, just makes everything go smoother. So that's why we're doing this. So Representative Harshman, you got something you'd like to share?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With our schedule today with the budget presentation, I was wondering about on Rule 7-3, I'd propose to lay back Senate File 59 for one additional day. It's a big bill. It's going to take a lot of time. So thank you.
Any objection from the body? Seeing no objection, Senate File 59 will be laid back for one day. All right, next one for our consideration on third reading, regular, will be Senate File 88, reading clerk.
Senate File 88, sponsored by Senator Salazar. Sex offenders, residents near child care facilities, and act relating to crimes and offenses being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
Okay, we have amendments. First amendment for our consideration, Representative Haroldson. Third reading amendment, Senate File 88. Please, Representative Haroldson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I move third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 88 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, what this does is it eliminates property from the conversation. So I'll give you an example. In one of my communities, there's a landowner. If they were to start an in-home daycare, they would literally lock the entire town from ever being able to have anyone live in that town who has a record. And so what this says is it's from structure instead of edge of property. That way, if it's in their home, then it's from the edge of their home. Because what I don't want to see happen is this land stretch all the way down along the side of a community, like some of the small communities I represent, and give it us into a position or a place where we have problems. And so I think, is this the perfect fix? Maybe not, but I think it's another way where we can just have a conversation about, we want to give this barrier or this gap from the residents where this, or the building where this may be taking place, where we have students, where we have children, but making it edge of property I feel can get a little convoluted, especially when we talk about daycares being in homes and say that home's on a 1,000-acre parcel. Well, technically, the edge of property is anywhere on the edge of the 1,000 acres. And that could mess up multiple communities type of deal because of how this works. If it's a congruent piece, it applies. And so I think that this clarifies and brings some clarity. I'm just trying to get it where we do what we're intending to do here and not go beyond what we're intending to do here and create a situation where we create a zone where community, an entire community is off limits for maybe someone who's lived there their entire life or grown up there and want to come back or something like that. So would ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for their first time on the amendment? First time? Seeing no one rushing to the microphones, second time? Having a discussion? Nope, all good. No seconds. Back to the bringer. You're good? All right, he's waving us off. Members, you're voting on third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 88. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Thank you. The motion is adopted. Next amendment for our consideration on Senate File 88, third reading amendment number 2, Representative Lean, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Without objection, I'd like to withdraw second or third reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 88.
Thank you. Any without objection from the body? Third reading amendment number 2 has been withdrawn. Okay, members. Senate File 88 having been read 3 separate times, question is, shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Feiler, Hornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, excused, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, excused, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, excused, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Worf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 58 aye, 4 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of the majority of the members of the House, Senate File 88 has passed the House. Okay, Representative. One, number 67 that was pulled off the consent list. So let's try to get that one done and then we can dive into the budget bill if we can. Okay, reading clerk, Senate File 67.
Senate File 67, sponsored by Senator Larson. Wyoming State Guard amendments, an act relating to the Wyoming State Guard being enacted by the legislature of the state of Wyoming.
Okay, we have amendments. First amendment we will take will be Representative Feiler actually will be the reading amendment. Third reading amendment number 2 was on the first one we will take. Number 2, and then because the delete the enacting clause will be the last one. All right, so number 2 will be for consideration. Representative Feiler, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Speaker. I move third reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 67. Ask for your favorable consideration. Folks, of course, down backwards. But just kind of explain this a little bit. I think when we look at the appropriation on this bill, it's a very small amount. There's no doubt. But what it does is it's only a study that could end up being a larger appropriation in future legislation that could seek major funding. So I think it's kind of a slippery slope. I believe that the executive branch now has all the authority to make this task force if they so choose. But I don't think the appropriation really needs to be there because my thought would be that they would have to collaboratively work with our Wyoming Military Department now. So I think the appropriation is just something that might not necessarily need to be in this bill, Mr. Speaker. Now I answer any questions.
Okay, members, Representative Heff, for your first time on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm gonna push back a little, maybe even a lot. At what point do we decide to move this forward? After the catastrophe happens? Yes, the governor has available at his hands to get this going, but we haven't ever done it. In America, we have a habit of waiting to close the barn door after the horses got out. Here's an opportunity to put together a group, a council, if it were, to organize this. And yes, they may come up with a conclusion for another appropriation. I think we ought to take that opportunity and take that advice. Let's get ahead of something for once and not wait till it's too late. I will tell you, with what's going on in other parts of the world today, there's going to be some retaliation and it may come home. We've been very fortunate. We live in a land of a lot of protections, but that can break down. There is no guarantee that something won't happen. I'm on the bill against this amendment.
Okay, any other members? First time, Representative Yin, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So for the bringers of the bill who support the appropriation, I heard that we should deal with this before the catastrophe happens. I'm curious what catastrophe we're talking about. And so any thoughts on what kind of catastrophe we're trying to prepare for, I think would be really useful for me to decide on the amendment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Rodriguez-Williams, your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bringer of the amendment on an opposed, this isn't a slippery slope. This is about being Wyoming strong, America strong. This appropriation requests $25,000 over the next 2 years to defray travel and administrative costs for a governor-appointed council of defense. This bill's been worked on for over 3 years by the top general who's a major and stakeholders across this state. On the amendment, this council is called for by existing statutes to address issues of size, recruitment, organizational structure, equipment, and a mission for the Wyoming State Guard prior to any decision to proceed with its organization. On and opposed to the amendment for the bill.
Thank you, Representative Rodriguez-Williams. Any other members for your first time? Representative Sherwood, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This did come up in your good committee number 2 in terms of the bill, page 3, section 2. There is that appropriation. We didn't get clarity on how that number was established. But if you read on line 21, it also speaks to equipping the Wyoming State Guard. And I would argue that the appropriation is way too low if we're talking about equipping a state guard. So it's one thing to set up a council, but it's another then to open the door and say, we need to equip a state guard. I argue that this just leaves the door open for future appropriations to be obligated by the next body. Thank you.
Okay, any other members? First time on the amendment? Representative Bear, first time.
First for a second, please.
First for a second, Representative. Any other members? First time on the amendment. Seeing none, second time. I have Heft, Yin, Rodriguez-Williams, Sherwood, and Bear. Representative Heft, for your second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was asked, what catastrophe are we anticipating? Any, natural or otherwise? Let's put together a mechanism where we can be prepared for such actions.
Representative Yin, first time, or second time, excuse me, second time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So I guess, without any more specifics than natural or otherwise, we have a National Guard. And so again, I'm confused on why we need an appropriation. I'm still not understanding the point of the bill, let alone why we need another appropriation to have this study essentially.
Any other member for your second time? Representative Bear for your second time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The testimony that we received in appropriations was truly insufficient to warrant this. There was no specifics as to what the money would be spent on and how it would be spent. There was a general idea that it would be spent on developing the board that would guide this effort. There wasn't any rhyme or reason to the amount and why it was chosen, so recommend we
Any other
go
member?
away from this.
Representative Rodriguez Williams, your second time, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, on and opposed to the amendment for the bill. I've heard over and over and over during debate, especially during education, the comment, you can go home and put that on a campaign flyer. Go ahead. Well, I push back against the amendment. Because I'll tell you what I'm going to do by voting for this bill and voting down this amendment. I'm going to put on mine that I stood up for Wyoming, that I stood up for America. And now more than ever, we need something like this in place to back up our state's National Guard.
Thank you, Representative. One member left. Representative Sherwood, if you'd like to speak on the second go round, she's good. All right, back to the bringer. Representative Filer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and great discussion. I mean, I love the passion. I love the passion that we're pro-Wyoming, we're pro-America, we want to defend our homeland. I totally get that because I was one of those people that did that. Now, I think one thing we got to remember too is on this appropriation, folks, that's not even 3 days worth of what we get paid to go to a committee. And I'm trying to think about how an appropriation of only $25,000 is going to get us the right studies and convening to find out how much equipment we're going to need and all the different things that we're going to need for our defense with just $25,000. I think this is something, and that's why I bring this amendment, because $25,000 doesn't even get us started, not even close. When we're talking about organizing a regulated militia, it takes a lot more than this. And I think what we need to do is we need to work with the executive office, find out what the true need is first prior to bringing a bill, especially one with an appropriation, Mr. Speaker. So on and for this amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Members, you're voting on third reading amendment number 2 to Senate File 67. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment has not been adopted. Division being called. All those in favor, please stand. Okay. You may be seated. All those opposed, please stand and stand still, please. Okay, you may be seated. The amendment has not been adopted, 24-34. All right. Representative Filer, third reading amendment number 1, please, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move third reading amendment number 1 to Senate File 67, and I'll withdraw it at the appropriate time.
Thank you, sir. Please proceed.
Well, folks, since we didn't pass that last amendment, I guess what we got to do here, as I look at this bill in its entirety, I understand what it does, and I totally get it. I do. Having somebody to be able to back up our own National Guard and have the executive office, get this formed and all those things. But I think if we all open up this beautiful blue book called our Wyoming Constitution, on Article 17, it already outlines this bill. Already outlines it. It gives the governor as the commander and the chief and the powers of the militia. It keeps the federal government away from it. It makes it our own. We've already done this. As a matter of fact, I think it was ratified in the Constitution back in 1999. So this is something that you're right. This has been years in the making. That us as citizens in the state of Wyoming thought we needed our own militia. But that's why we have it in our Constitution, to allow our governor to form this. So I don't know, one, why we need a bill to do it and to mandate that it does it now. I think this is something that has to take a lot more of a collaborative effort between the governor's office to our military department to all these different things in order to get something in place that's actually going to work. And I mean, there was no interim study done on this. I didn't knock on a door and people begged us for another militia. No one asked me to, hey, will you go create another militia for the state of Wyoming? No one did. Right? So, and one thing we also got to remember too, what this bill does, it puts all that decision-making on one entity, the governor's office. And I think I can say governor because it's in the bill, Mr. Speaker. But it puts all that responsibility on one office with no legislative oversight. And I think when we think about that, is it pretty much allows the executive office to do whatever they want with this militia, and we have nothing to say about it. It takes that ability away. It also, one thing it does too, it doesn't allow the collaboration between our National Guard and our state militia. So when we talk about this, where the National Guard say is gone, something tragic happens and we have to deploy them all, which is yet to happen, ever. But if they're all gone, where's their training coming from? Where's their equipment coming from? Are we setting up a militia set up to fail? And honestly, as someone that did serve in our National Guard here in Wyoming, I want to make sure that whoever's taking my spot, if I was still in, knows what to do, knows how to do it properly, knows how to keep our citizens safe, knows how to do an airdrop in case there's a snowstorm for hay out in a field somewhere to feed cattle. They should know those things. So when we look at this, we're going to set up this task force or this little committee, and we're going to figure out the equipment we're going to need, the manpower we're going to need, all the resources that are going to be needed in order to do the same thing as our National Guard in case our National Guard is gone. I think what we all ought to do here, especially during a budget session, is look how much money it costs to run our National Guard in the state of Wyoming. How many federal dollars flow into that and how much state dollars we put into that. What it costs to maintain that equipment. We are opening up Pandora's box here. We created another militia without doing this correctly. We are opening up something that I don't think necessarily we could really afford. I'm for it. Don't get me wrong. I'll be the first one to join. But I think we got to really think about, instead of just throwing out a bill out there and throwing some money at some task force and say, come back to us and say, hey, we just want to form another military. And let's not forget too, folks, this is a regulated militia by one office, and that's the governor's. Not by legislative oversight, by one office. So if we want a regulated militia that's in control of one office controls it, no other oversight, I don't know if this is the right path we want to go on. I think we really need to look at this. And I'm willing to work with anybody throughout the interim. Let's make a really good state militia. I'll stand for any questions, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Any members for your first time? Representative Rodriguez Williams, first time on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On and opposed to the amendment for the bill. To the bringer of the amendment, if you're for it, jump on board and vote aye on the bill and withdraw the amendment. There's been a stakeholder group for over 3 years working on this. I have faith in our adjunct general. There's over 22 states that have state guards. During the global war on terror, there was an intent to drain a state. Keep in mind that the President of the United States could federalize the National Guard, thus removing control from the governor. If organized, this would be a separate branch of the organized state militia, independent of the National Guard, a state military force with no federal obligations, commanded by the governor through the adjutant general. I invite everyone to have a little more faith. Vote aye. Wyoming.
Any other members, first time? Representative Larson, Lloyd, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This effort has come before us three times, I believe, in the last few years. Mr. Speaker, I've opposed it for most of the time until this year. And I think the arguments I'm hearing on both sides of the debate fall short of the mark that the bill's trying to accomplish. So if you go into 1910, it's the Wyoming State Guard. It's already there. Started, I can see going back in the history, the first part of this was in 1947. A lot of work was done in 1951. Then a lot of follow-up work in 1977. So this is a provision that we already have in our statutes, but it's really antiquated and it needs some work. I think that's what this bill is trying to do. I don't think we're rallying the troops and are going to defend, that we have to hunker down tonight and take cover. I just think that it's given the governor a chance to use the military expertise that we have to say, in the event that we needed such a thing, how would it look today in 2024 versus what it looked like the last time we worked on it in 1977? Might be exactly the same. Should the governor have a say in it? Well, I think so. He's kind of as this isn't new language, it kind of lines up. And the most important language, I think, is at the beginning of the bill, and it's existing language, and say the governor may. He's not required to. And so I think, our job here is to maybe set aside a little bit of the, or we try to anyway, try to set aside some of the emotion that flows on these type of bills. But for me, as I've looked at this, it's an existing statute that's very antiquated. It really needs some work. And I love fixing old antiquated statutes, and I think this one is worth our consideration. I don't think that it's given the governor undue, Mr. Speaker, I don't think it's given the governor undue power. Could it result in a follow-up of interim topics? This doesn't prohibit that. Could, as the governor meets with our military, our state military leaders, how would this look? They may come back just like we're going to be looking at this week on proposed interim topics. And maybe we consider and contemplate some of the recommendations they do. So I've been converted from a no in previous years to an aye in trying to upgrade these statutes and modernize them today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Pendergraph, your first time, sir, on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. a previous speaker said Article 17 keeps the federal government out of it. Except it doesn't. I've been a member of the Wyoming National Guard. I've been a member of the regular Army. And right now, as it stands, the Wyoming National Guard is actually support troops for our federal Army. That's how it's set up. That's how they train. It was also mentioned in case the National Guard was gone. Well, why would they be gone? Except they're called up by the president to go somewhere on a national. And I think when I sit down and I read that beautiful book, blue book as it was referred to earlier, there was a different attitude and a different intent behind that. And I've brought this idea before. I think the idea is fantastic. I'm not real fond of the way this bill is currently written. And at first I had decided that I would vote against it simply because I don't think the bill goes near far enough. But I'm going to support it because I believe what it does is promote that conversation. And that's why I voted for it to come out of committee. I wanted to have this discussion. I wanted people to think about these things. We as a state need to think about how we protect and care for us first and foremost. The states formed the federal. And so on and for the bill.
Representative Heft, your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many times we tend to think of things like this as military action only. This state guard could also assist in local law enforcement in all matter of localized catastrophes. Say, what if we had a dam breach or an imminent dam breach where these folks could help evacuate people, help with orderly discourse that may come about by some of those kind of things. That one of the things I'm concerned about is our national security. Many times we have folks entering our nation as tourists. And in an area that I live in, we have a great deal of tourism. How do we know some of these folks aren't entering that way with nefarious actions in mind? These folks could help back up law enforcement in that manner too when forces get stretched thin. On the bill, oppose the amendment.
Representative Brown, your first time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So a couple of things that I just want to draw the body's attention to as this bill was discussed. I heard that this bill has been talked about for 3 years with a group of stakeholders, and that is true. This bill has been brought before the Military Affairs Committee, I think at least the last 2 years. And the way that the bill was brought forward to us originally, ladies and gentlemen, had a lot more updates, frankly. The bill was brought to us in the very last meeting. We allowed the sponsor at the other end of the building to come before us, talk about the bill, give us an explanation. The committee chose not to adopt it as a committee-sponsored bill, number one, because it came at the very last meeting. Number two, it's kind of a change. The original bill was a pretty drastic change, and a lot of things were getting amended. The other body, the sleepy side of the Capitol, decided to amend it pretty heavily if you look at the difference between the introduced file and the current file. And as that current file sits with us, the big bear from Lander mentioned that there's a lot of cleanup in the statute, and the original bill did come in and try to clean up a lot of that statute. So the current bill is really just saying, hey, look, the governor downstairs can form this if he so chooses. Here's $25,000 if you want to do it. That's really what the bill is saying. What I really want to be careful for, ladies and gentlemen, is conflating the issues of a state guard that is currently in statute, that he can currently do everything that this bill is authorizing him to do, and what our current National Guard does do. So I heard these people can help if there's an imminent dam break. So can our National Guard. That's the difference between Title 10 and Title 32 orders. If you're unfamiliar with the Title 10 and Title 32 orders, please come and see me. I'd be more than happy to discuss those. The difference between those is being activated underneath state active duty, which is what the governor currently has authority to do when we have firefights. I can remember about 15 years ago, we had a massive amount of runoff coming across the roads up in Ethity, and blocking off the entire town of Ethity from actually being able to be accessed. The state guard, our National Guard, was actually called up to deploy bags. I know that, speaking of bags, when we actually had a flooding, and we see it pretty regularly, maybe not this year, Bag Saratoga area, we've had the state guard come over there and actually do sandbagging operations. Those things can happen, and our state, our governor has the authority within his purview to activate the National Guard on state orders. That does not change. This would say if you are a portion of the state guard, you cannot be federalized. And what does that mean? We've seen a similar bill in this body that has said, hey, look, unless there's a declaration of war that comes through, the federal government cannot take these troops and send them off to another area of, whether it's just down to the south or whether it's across the country, right? Unless there's a declaration of war, you have no access to our troops. That's what we're talking about here, is the ability to restrict that authority from the federalization of our troops. That's what this would be. Very much akin to the Texas Rangers, ladies and gentlemen. If you're familiar with those, very, very similar to not the baseball team. There's a group of people that is a state guard, state militia that is activated, and the governor has total authority over those folks. So the last thing that I wanted to bring up, again, neither here nor there on the bill, vote your conscience. I did go up and pull up the general budget for our state National Guard. If we talk about just state funding, we're not talking about the airplanes, we're not talking about the HIMARS, we're not talking about the guns, we're not talking about any of that stuff. About $4.5 million. That's just for the state guard portion, okay? Outside of that, if we wanted to have any of those things that the state works with and functions with on a regular basis, that's an additional $94 million. So if we want to buy tanks, we want to buy guns, we want to buy Kevlar vests, helmets, all those types of things, that's what this committee that is already in statute and has the authority to do and can be called upon to do, and we're reauthorizing that in this bill, that's what they would be saying. So vote your conscience on it. I wanted to give the body an entirety of what we've seen, the entire progress of how this bill has come to be, some of the other attempts to do very similar actions. So for $25,000 is really what you're doing with this bill. You're appropriating $25,000 and telling the governor he may go do something that he already has the access to do. Outside of that, current statute stays as it was written, and that's how the bill would go through, and that's pretty much it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Brown. Any other members for your first time on the amendment? First time speaking on the amendment, seeing none. Second time on the amendment. Representative Heft, second time.
I
Proceed,
made
sir.
mention of natural catastrophe or a man-made catastrophe. In a conversation I had with one of my team members who I've mentioned before, who is National Guard member, they call him Chief. Very well aware of what it takes to get a unit up and going from one end of the state to the other. And I asked him, how long does it take? And he said, well, the very fast, the quickest, probably 10 days to 2 weeks. Can we wait that long? Local folks would be right there and available to assist when things go south.
Thank you, Representative. Any other members for second time? I've got Rodriguez Williams, Larson Lloyd, Pendergraft, and Representative Brown. No one? Okay, back to the bringer. Representative Filer, please.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker, and thanks for the good discussion. I think one thing, when we go through this, vote up or down, just like I already know what the vote's going to be anyway, so it don't matter. But I think I just wanted to bring this to our attention that when we do this, because I'm pretty sure we are, that if something comes out in the next session and the following session, we're going to start seeing where there's going to be big ask for appropriations and all these different things, that we're not just blindsided. Because right now, all we're thinking about is $25,000, create a little task force. So that's how everything starts. And I just don't want anybody blindsided on that. And also, when we talked about having 22 other states that have one of these, I just did a little research while I was sitting up here listening to the debate. All 22 states coordinate with their National Guard. Every single one of those state guards coordinate with their National Guard. They train with their National Guard. They help use the same equipment as their National Guard. So it's a collaborated effort between all those groups to create a really good state National Guard or state guard. And that's all I want to do. If we're going to do this, I just want to do it right. Because if we do ever have to call these folks to help us, whether it's flood issues, fire, get invaded by whoever, I want to just make sure they're ready to go. I don't want to set anybody up for failure. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll withdraw that amendment.
Thank you, Representative. Having withdrawn the amendment, hearing no objection from the body, the amendment has been withdrawn. Okay. Senate File 67, having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Ellenman, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear, Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Elisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Clauston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Fornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, excused, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Are there any changes? Campbell Kevin? Are there any changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 54 aye, 6 no, 2 excused.
Having received the affirmative vote of the House, Senate File 67 has passed the House. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now our appropriators.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Representative Haroldson, please.
May I have a privilege of the floor while they're getting in place?
You certainly may.
So today we are blessed to have with us some amazing young men and women from our charter schools. We've got Prairie View Charter School as well as the Wyoming Classical Charter School up here in the Laramie Montessoriate as well up here. And so you guys, it's really cool in the fact that in Wyoming, we are doing more and more on the floor of this house to give the opportunity for young people to learn in new and different ways. And I've been able to watch what's going on in the charter school there in Chugwater, and it's really exciting to watch that take place. So welcome, guys. It's good to have you. Welcome to the house. Mr. Speaker, one more.
You certainly may.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And furthermore, I got a couple young people here who are actually part of my church too, from that charter school. So you know who you are. Welcome. We're glad you're here and get to spend some time with us.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the House. Appreciate you being here and taking time off to come down and share the day with us and be a part of the process and see how this works. Now, it's going to be rather riveting, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to hang around a little bit, we're going to talk budget. So just hang in here. You can't have more fun than this right now. So, all right. Representative Baer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Joint Conference Committee Report to Senate File 1 and ask for your favorable consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, you should have two items that have been passed out to your desk. One looks like this, which is the Joint Conference Report. The other is much like the status report we had earlier. And my colleagues and I are going to go over, first of all, the conference report, and then we'll go over the status report. The portion we'll be going over on the status report will be those amendments that were deleted and further amended. I'm going to go over those that were completely adopted on both sides, and then those that were deleted on both sides. And then my colleagues will go over the following 17 pages or so of all those specific amendments. And we'll go through them as quickly as we can so you can get to lunch. And then hopefully get a vote on the budget bill. So first of all, those that were adopted from the Senate, we have Senate File 1, second reading amendment number 11, added $75,000 general fund for sign language interpreters. And then second reading amendment number 18, added $550,000 general fund, rural veterinary medical educational program. Then we had third reading amendment number 6, game and fish authorization for predator management, and that was using their own funds. Third reading amendment number 8 added $441,000 general funds for petroglyphs and pictographs to the Parks and Natural Resources account. Third reading amendment number 13 added $1.8 million general funds for Department of Health Senior Services. Third reading amendment number 19 added $5 million general funds for the Wyoming Community College Commission for additional state aid. Third reading amendment number 34 added $21.9 million in school foundation program for school district entitlement payments. And that was for the long-term homeowners tax deduction. Those were covering those payments. Third reading amendment number 37 was changing the $44 million transfer that was held for savings. On our side, it was going to the LSRA. On the Senate side, it was going to the Permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund. We accepted the Senate amendment. Third reading amendment number 38 transferred $88 million from the School Foundation Program reserve account to the School Foundation Program. That's to help cover the costs of recalibration. Third reading amendment number 45, tourism project and contracts project. And that was Medicaid funding for, that was the funding for the tourism project. All right, then we have the House adopted amendments. House second reading amendment number 28, existing $96,000 general fund for archaeology work on human remains. And that was authorizing the spending of funds that were already appropriated. Second reading amendment 36 reduced $685,000 IS for Department of Transportation aircraft operation maintenance. That's the state jet, going from 2 down to 1. Second reading amendment number 49 inserted elective for the Department of Health abortion prohibition funding. Second reading of number 113 reduced $5 million in general fund for the shooting park and authorized the existing $2.5 million in game and fish and $2.5 million in tourism funds. The $5 million there is a reversion. And then on third reading amendment number 4, added $424,579 in general fund and 3 FTEs for the Riverton State Office building. And third reading number 7, AGR prohibited cost allocation. That's for those boards and commissions under the Ag Department. Third reading amendment number 29, language including 5.5 million general funds. And this is the for the DD waiver. What happened was we in this body changed the amount that went for the providers versus the amount that went to get people off the waiting list to ensure that the funnel wouldn't jam up. And the Senate accepted that change. All right, third reading amendment number 35, reduce $300,000 general fund for the livestock ear tags, which were no longer, those funds were no longer needed. Third reading amendment number 41, the Wyoming Community College and University, no student athlete would be paid an athlete's salary or endorsement funds from these funds, and that was accepted. Number 59 of third reading was UW external audit in consultation with the Management Council. And again, this is for the High Bay lab. Third reading amendment number 95, shooting complex, no additional money would be expended on that. And third reading amendment number 98, Hot Springs State Park concessionaire, $3 million was reappropriated. Again, that had been appropriated back in 2021. Third reading amendment number 116 added $100,000 general funds for the Wyoming Business Council forensic audit. And third reading amendment number 121 added $30,000 in tourism for the 1893 Yellowstone tree inscription. The following amendments were deleted from the Senate side. Second reading amendment number 1, 6, 8, 10, and 17. Third reading amendments number 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12. 14, 15, 16, 17, 21, 22, 25, 33, 35, 36, 39, 40, 49, 50, 52, and 53. The following House amendments were deleted. Second reading number 18, 21, 22, 68, 104, and 110. Third reading amendments number 9, 11, 18, 31, 60, 66, 78, 79, 88, 90, 93, 99, 120, 122, 123, 124, and 125. And with that, I'll pass over to Representative Angelos to continue for the next 9 pages.
Representative Angelos, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So on the bottom of page 2, and we're still on this page, this is just some like technical cleanup on wording on the front page of your bill. When you get to page 5, line 8, it says under general fund increase amount to $1 million. This is for the FERNERPA account. The next one, page 6, line 3, was a technical correction. Page 11, line 11, was after services, delete under general fund increasing by $500,000. This was the state amount of the trades that we reduced. We had given them increased funding for trades. They took it away because we passed the overall enterprise-wide funding for state employees. The next part you'll see number 2. So footnote number 2 of this is of the general fund appropriation. This is also the compensation that was in the budget for the governor on trades. So it's just more language on making sure that we spent and made sure all of the state employees were taken care of. Down below, you'll see where it says page 8, line 18, all the way down. This was for the Raven Act. So we had appropriated $3 million for the ICAC, and this decreased it if the Raven Act passes, which it looks like it will go through. So it decreased 1.4 million and put in 1.6 million. It's just making sure we don't double fund that. If you flip over to page 4, number 4, this was a Senate amendment, and this added $5 million. This was for the water litigation. Drop down where it says page 31, line 8. It was $5 million. This was the YDOT funding that you remember the House had adopted for highway maintenance and for our highway patrol 1, 2, and 3. We decreased that because we gave them the enterprise-wide employee raise. Now, if you drop down page 36, line 3, most of the way through this is the nursing. We had given more funding to one of the state hospitals in order to see if we could stop some of that traveling nursing, give them an increase to a pilot program. That was deleted also due to the enterprise-wide employee increase in pay. Page 48, line 10, where it says general fund increase amount by 1.9 million and some change. That was for senior services and Department of Health. That was the Senate position was accepted. If you go from where it says page 49, line 1 at the bottom of page 4, that's all our fire module. So we adopted 2 fire modules all the way through page 5. You'll see that language. This actually will be a moot point in the bill because the bill that passed out of this body is on the governor's desk. So it had passed both houses. So this will just be mute, be deleted out of there. Now, if you skip over to page 6, the top part is still a fire module until the number 12. And this is where the university starts. So part of this is the language that we kept out of the amendment from the House. So it gives all of our recommendations on identifying positions, reorganization, looking at cost savings. Flip over to page 7, that's the whole entire page. At the top, you see where we accepted that the $10 million, as long as they can identify $5 million in savings, we will reappropriate or give them back the $10 million in April, or I guess this says March of 2027. So they do need to identify the $5 million in savings as of December 1st. We'll withhold 10 million, and then March 15th, we will give that to them. The next one on number 13, this is a family residency program through the University of Wyoming to help one of our local critical access hospitals with their residency program. That was a Senate position that we accepted. The next part, if you look, is was the funding for Wyoming Business Council. And that was, I think it's roughly around $9 million. It's about 2 years of funding. That was in accordance to the amendment that was accepted on this side of on the House's position, and the Senate accepted our position. You'll see at the bottom of that page on over to 8, here's your 2 years of funding for the Wyoming Small Business Developmental Center. There's a couple of those. And the partnership with the Wyoming's Women's Business Center. I know there was some issues on that, and Manufacturing Works. That's the 2 years, the total 2 years funding for that. Drop down where it says page 66, line 3 in the middle of page 8. That is the stable coin. The House's position was to give them 1 year of funding and their reversion that they were going to have of around $2 to $3 million. We went ahead and just split it in the middle with the Senate. So $4 million for stablecoin plus their 2 to 3 million in reversions is what we agreed on that. That goes clear down to page 66, line 22. These were it says decrease full-time positions by 2. The House had allocated 2 full-time employees to the budget department. And that was for the Wyoming Business Council, for them to take that on. That has not happened. It's not going to happen. So we decreased those full-time employees. Line 70, or page 70, line 22 through 24, it says delete entirely. That was for WordPerfect. We had allocated WordPerfect to one of their employees. We adopted the Senate's position. That was deleted. Also down on the next line, page 103, line 14, delete, exempt, and insert, subtracted. That was for the Guardian ad litem, their cost allocation with the state. We deleted that as well. Took the Senate's position on that. Top of page 9, page 103, line 15 was the SIPA funds transfer. If Senate File 19 passes, that's just the transfer for that. You'll see down under page, and D kind of breaks that down. Page 110, line 7, top of the page 9, or upper part of page 9. This was the flex authority that the House had given to some of the agencies. The Senate, we adopted the Senate's position, so that was deleted. That language was. Next, from page 1, it says page 129, line 9. This is all the way to the bottom of the page. This is the RER, or the rare earth mineral. This was changing it from a loan to a grant. That was accepting the Senate's position. That also continues on to page 10 through, it says page 123, lines through 1, and I will stop there.
Does anybody have any questions? Seeing none, Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're on page 10, about the middle of the page. You'll see section 313. The following sections were language that was deleted in its entirety. Section 313 dealt with cost benefit analysis for the SLIB board. 314 was language regarding spending policy for the PMTF. And similarly, 315 was similar language, spending policy for the Common School Permanent Land Fund. Section 316 dealt with FMR distribution amendments. Section 319, language involving the Wyoming Stable Token Account. Again, no longer necessary due to further legislation. 325 dealt with legislative intent, put sideboards on agencies, basically saying if you step out of lines, we can pull back funding. That was removed. Section 326 had to do with the Hathaway Scholarship, also removed. Moving on to section 328, this is primarily the Senate's work in the restoration to the governor's rec. And you'll notice on page 12, a number of different items. A lot of this has to do with restoring TRP and other items. And there are footnotes within. The first footnote deals with $108,000 plus for cybersecurity grant program matching. Note number 2 is $18,000 stormwater fees in Cheyenne, and that is effective immediately. Note number 3 from the general fund for deposit into the Wyoming Wildlife and Natural Resource Trust Fund. There was basically a compromise here. The House position was nothing. The Senate position was 18 million. So we set it at 9, and those funds have become available July 1st. The next one is public laboratory services and operations funding for the Department of Health to the tune of $607,000 plus. Number 5 is general fund appropriation. This is for Department of Family Services, and basically it's a nut of all the, it's the net of all the pros, pluses and minuses, and that's how that ends up. Number 6 deals with public television, and this gives money for operations, but not for the towers, as there was major maintenance available through another route to fund that. Note number 7 and 8 have to deal with community colleges and the University of Wyoming. Note 7 says no funds will be extended to pay student athletes. And note number 8 provides for a state match, $12.5 million, state matching funds for fundraising. And there's a couple of divisions there. Note number 9, $875,000 plus is appropriated for cloud services. And then under section B are a number of FTEs. I think we added about 15. We took a couple away from the budget department, which we had originally transferred over there because of the Wyoming Business Council. That was no longer necessary. So this is basically just assigning where those FTEs are now needed and appropriated. I'd like to move on to section 329, which is essentially enterprise-wide, the state employees' wages, where we brought everybody up to the 2024 pay scales. And you can see how it's divided among various agencies through the remainder of that on page 16 and on to page 17. And lastly, section 330 is the fallen representative. The Senate had set aside 1.2 million. The House had said 400,000 for matching funds, and we came up with a compromise there, and that set at 800,000 and matching funds. And One last note on the last page. State auditor shall transfer up to $325 million from the LISRA to the general fund as a budget balancer. With that, I have concluded my remarks.
Mr. Speaker, if I may continue.
You certainly may, Representative Bear, continue.
Ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned that I was going to go over this in detail, but really we've just covered everything that's in this report. I would just point out to you on the column, the second column, you can see the annotations of D, A, and DFA. So just to help you understand that, D means that amendment was deleted, A means it was adopted, and DFA means it was deleted and further amended. We just gave you descriptions of many of those DFAs, and those are in the purple ink on the far right column where the description is. So rather than belabor those things, once again, after you just heard them all, I will just give a brief comment about where we're at financially. We have a requirement that in our general fund, we maintain a 5% of what our entire spending policy would be, and that's about $190 million. And after all of these actions, we have that plus about $2.2 million. So should, for instance, the price of oil fall out, something like that happen, we've got $192 million there to take care of that. And so with that, I will just ask for any questions, and then if not, we'll go ahead and ask for the question.
Any questions from the body? Any discussion? Seeing none, question haven't been called. Roll call vote, ladies and gentlemen. Joint Conference Committee report on Senate File 1 and Joint House 1. Chief Clerk, will please call the roll.
Allemand, Andrew, Angelos, Banks, Bear,
Aye.
Brady, Bratton, Brown Gary, Brown Landon, Byron, Campbell Lisa, Campbell Kevin, Chestick, Plouston, Connolly, Davis, Erickson, Filer, Bornstrom, Geringer, Guggenmoss, Haroldson, Harshman, Heiner, Heft, Jarvis, Johnson, Kelly, excused, Knapp, Larson Lloyd, Larson JT, Lawley, Lean, Locke, Lucas, McCann, Nicholas, Ottman, Pendergraft, Posey, Provenza, Riggins, Rodriguez Williams, Schmid, excused, Sherwood, Singh, Smith, Storer, Strock, Stivar, Tarver, Thayer, Washut, Wasserberger, Webb, Weber, Wharf, Williams, Winter, Wiley, Yin. Mr. Speaker, are there any changes? Brown, Landon? Aye. Further changes? Andrew, excused to aye. Further changes? Campbell, Kevin, excused to aye. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 59 aye, 1 no, 2 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen to adopt, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, the budget for Congratulations, Wyoming will be taken care of for the next 2 years. Mr. Majority Floor Leader? Do we have anything else, any committee announcements or anything? We can do them right quick if we want to do standing committee reports. Do we, unless you're not ready, that's fine. Okay, let's, yep, then we can get that done and then we can add these to the cow list and be ready after lunch. Reading clerk, standing committee reports, please, sir.
Senate File 54, sponsored by Senator Rothfuss. State banks and SPDI conversions and act relating to banks. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 8, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred Senate File 54, State banks and SPDI conversions. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes. Representatives Campbell, Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Tarver, Weber. Excused, Representative Schmid. Representative Heiner, Chairman. Senate File 55, sponsored by Senator Rothfuss. Special Purpose Depository Institution Amendments, an act relating to banks, banking and finance. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred Senate File 55, Special Purpose Depository Institution Amendments. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation do pass. Ayes. Representatives Campbell, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Tarver, Weber. Noes. Representative Heiner. Excused, Representative Schmid. Representative Heiner, Chairman. Senate File 81, sponsored by Recalibration, K through 12 Public School Finance 2, an act relating to K through 12 Public School Finance. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 4, Education, to whom is referred Senate File 81 engrossed, K through 12 Public School Finance 2. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Guggenmoss, Lawley, Singh, Strzok. Noes. Representatives Erickson, Williams. Excused. Representative Kelly. Representative Andrew, Chairman. This bill was re-referred to Committee number 2, Appropriations. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 81 engrossed. K through 12 Public School Finance 2. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman. Senate File 85, sponsored by Senator Nethercott. Raven Act, an act relating to the Division of Criminal Investigation. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 85, the Raven Act. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman. Senate File 99, sponsored by Senator Cooper. Prescriptive easements for electricity delivery, an act relating to property conveyances and security transactions. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred Senate File 99 engrossed. Prescriptive easements for electricity delivery. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Tarver, Weber. Excused, Representative Campbell and Schmid. Representative Heiner, Chairman. Senate File 110, sponsored by Senator Hicks. Residential Property Tax Revisions, an act relating to taxation and revenue. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 3, Revenue, to whom is referred Senate File 110 engrossed, Residential Property Tax Revisions. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Stivar, Wharf. Noes. Representatives Riggins and Storer. Representative Locke, Chairman. This bill was re-referred to Committee number 2, Appropriations. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred Senate File 110 engrossed, Residential Property Tax Revisions. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Smith. Noes. Representative Sherwood. Representative Bear, Chairman. Senate File 121, sponsored by Senator Dockstader. Wyoming Pharmacy Act Amendments, an act relating to the Wyoming Pharmacy Act. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred Senate File 121 engrossed, Wyoming Pharmacy Act Amendments. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes. Representatives Klauston, Guggenmoss, Heft, McCann, Ottman, Rodriguez-Williams, Thayer, Wasserberger, Yin. Representative Rodriguez-Williams, Chairman. Senate File 126, sponsored by Senator Anderson. Wyoming Ireland Trade Commission, an act relating to economic development. Mr. Speaker, your Committee number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred Senate File 126. Wyoming Ireland Trade Commission. Respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation to pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Reagan's, Tarver, Weber. Noes, Representative Heiner. Excuse, Representative Schmidt. Representative Heiner, Chairman. Senate Joint Resolution 6, sponsored by Senator Pearson. Shared Parenting Day, a joint resolution designated April 26th of each year to be Shared Parenting Day in the state of Wyoming. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, to whom is referred Senate Joint Resolution 6, Shared Parenting Day, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Klauston, Guggenmoss, Heft, McCann, Ottman, Rodriguez, Williams, Thayer, Wasserberger, Yin. Representative Rodriguez Williams, Chairman.
Thank you, reading clerk. Okay, any other thing? We're good? Representative Heiner, good majority floor leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until 2 p.m.
Okay, do we have any committee announcements? Nothing? Representative Bear. Number 2, approps.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 2, appropriations, will be meeting in about 15 minutes in room E5 to continue our re-referrals that we were working on this morning. Further, we will meet upon adjournment for an executive session, and we intend to have a meeting tomorrow morning to finish out any re-referrals that we get, and I'll announce that this evening.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman Byron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Travel, Recreation, Wildlife Committee will meet tomorrow at 12:30 in 005 to discuss interim topics.
Thank you, Chairman. Any others? Everybody good? All right. Okay, you've heard the motion of the good majority. Oh, Representative Locke. Oh, he's putting something together. Hang fire, please, ladies and gentlemen. You good? All right, we'll do it later. Representative Brown, do you have anything? You're good? Okay. Don't want to hit any of my chairman off.
Speaker, your committee number 8, Transportation, Highways, Military Affairs, will meet on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. to discuss interim topic.
Thank you, Chairman. Any others? Is that good? Representative Posey. Please, sir, proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon,
The
Representative.
State Tribal Relations Committee will meet 8 a.m. Wednesday morning.
What room will you be meeting in? Do you happen to know?
Not too sure.
He's gathering that information. We'll hold here just so people out in TV land are able to hear this as well. That'll be posted online as well. Here we go. Representative Posey.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
It's all good.
Capital Extension, room number 3.
Room number 3. Thank you very much. Seeing no other announcements, you've heard the motion of the good majority floor leader. The House will stand in recess until 2 p.m.
Oh.